This is Richard Wolff for Wolff Responds from Democracy at Work. It's prepared for our Patreon community and beyond. Today's topic is China, more particularly, how to explain China's remarkable economic growth from one of the world's poorest countries economically to the second most powerful economic powerhouse after the United States today, and fast catching up. And more even particularly than that, I want to refute an argument. Conservatives and liberals have been rendered speechless, awkward. How to account for the stunning power and rise and wealth of the People's Republic of China? After all, they're led by a communist party. After all, they refer to themselves as a socialist country. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. So then, do they represent an alternative, and one that needs to worry us here in the West, because they're growing economically so much faster than we are, and for so long a sustained period of economic superiority? Well, of course, the ideologues come across with the comfortable answer. No, they say, don't worry. The only reason China is so powerful and successful economically is because of the contribution to their economic development made by private capitalism, both domestic in China and foreign private capitalism welcomed into China. How smart the Chinese were to recognize the bankruptcy of socialism, this argument goes, and to rescue their country by bringing in private capitalism. It is a warming story, the kind that capitalists tell themselves when they go to bed at night. But it's wrong, and it needs to be confronted, lest it become the kind of common sense that develops when no critical perspective is allowed in. So let's go. Let's grant them first the grain of truth that's in their argument. Private capitalism was allowed into China in the new century, more or less, on a way that it hadn't been before. The Chinese communists took power in China after a civil war in 1949. So for the first 50 years, roughly, of the development of modern China, you did not have private capitalism, neither Chinese very much, and almost no foreign allowed. 50 years. During that time, here comes the counter-argument, during that time, socialist China, led by the Communist Party, transformed that country. It didn't look anything like what it had been in 1949 when we reached the year 2000. Let me explain. Over those 50 years, the transformation of China by the socialists gave them the following. The first adequate food production and distribution system in centuries, securing the diets and the nutrition of the Chinese people. As the largest country by population in the world, a stunning achievement. But it was the first of many. Transformation of its infrastructure, roads built, dams built, railroads built, harbors built, entire cities created. Stunning. A national health service that provided real medical attention to peasantries that hadn't seen it ever before. A first-rate national education system from kindergarten on up, through university, high quality, training massive numbers of people, particularly scientists, engineers, and so on. I could go on, but it's more than enough to establish a simple, irrefutable fact. The conditions for rapid economic growth, what you might call the preconditions for that growth, were established by the socialist government under the Communist Party in the first 50 years of China's existence. Without that, no rapid capitalist development would have been conceivable. And indeed, any self-respecting capitalist in China now knows that. That's why those industries could flourish. That's why foreign private capitalists came to China, because they had a well-educated, well-fed, healthy, disciplined labor force. That's right. That's what they came for. Low wages, but stunningly competent. And not only that, in the years since, the Chinese Communist Party, leading the government of China, has been a crucial, major partner for private capitalism, providing credit, providing access to all of those preconditions, helping at various moments, creating the foreign policy that opened the world to Chinese exports, without which capitalist development could never have achieved the pace it did. No, you put it all together, and the notion that private capitalism is somehow the unique contributor, the unique presence that all by itself gave China its power, that's the kind of self-delusion you ought to outgrow as a late teenager. But it is so comforting ideologically that you hear it repeated over and over again. It is not true. It was not true. It's embarrassing, the kind of ignorance of Chinese economic history that it reveals. This is Richard Wolff for Wolff Responds, from Democracy at Work.